Now, the Africa Climate Summit starts tomorrow at the KICC here in Nairobi. I'm now joined live by Nation Media Group Sustainability Editor Zainab Wandati for a quick run-through of what to expect at and from the summit. Zainab, good to see you. Tomorrow is a big day, begins a big week for you on the sustainability desk, who are leading this nation, I dare say, in regards to understanding the nitty-gritties of what the climate summit has to say. What should we expect?
Well, yes, it's going to be a very busy week, because besides the Africa Climate Summit, there's also the Africa Climate Week, two events that are happening concurrently. One is a UN event and the other one is an AU event. The Africa Climate Summit is an AU event and the Africa Climate Week is a UN event. So both events will make Nairobi quite a busy city, with at least 20,000 delegates here attending both or either of the two summits. And from Tenges's story, you've heard about the complaints that are coming up in terms of how the summit has been organized. And I should say that one of the reasons that the non-state actors are complaining is because at least 62% of the side events planned for the Africa Climate Summit are side events that will not be hosted by Africa or any African organization. They're side events that will be hosted by the Global North. And over the last few days, the non-state actors, particularly civil society groups, have been accusing Kenya and President William Ruto particularly of pushing the Global North's agenda through the Africa Climate Summit, and therefore having 62% of the side events being Global North side events. Then that just adds fuel to the fire that the civil society groups are complaining about. But I should also say that at least 20 heads of state are expected in Nairobi at the summit, and I've had a look at the program. Some of the presidents I've seen on the program include French President Emmanuel Macron and also Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu are also expected to be here. Of course, East African presidents will also be here, and they'll be participating in various plenary sessions. And the day tomorrow will begin with a plenary session to officially welcome people to Kenya and set the stage for what to expect over the 3 days that will be here. And all 55 African countries will be participating in this summit with the key goal of coming up with the Nairobi Declaration, which will be taken as the African position, which will then be taken to the COP. Now, the African position means all African countries will come together and agree what their climate priorities are and what they want the world to take to focus mostly on at the COP when they present to the COP. And remember, the nature of discussions at the COP are that countries do not engage in the discussions as individuals, particularly for countries in the global south, such as Kenya, countries in Africa. So these countries come together as a group and then negotiate as a group through that common continent position, which will be taken as the Africa position, hence the Nairobi Declaration. Now, the Africa Youth Climate Summit has just concluded, and it has come up with a declaration of sorts, the Nairobi Youth, and it has come up with a declaration of sorts, the Nairobi Youth Climate Declaration, which has key pointers, one of them being that they want the youth across the continent to be put at the center stage of any decision taken anywhere on this continent, be it at the AU level or even at the country level or even at the very local level. The young people want to be given a voice in order to participate in these discussions. Hence the reason the youth summit started off before the summit itself begins. But then, besides the non-state actors, there are also some groups from West Africa that had some not so things to say about how they've been handled here as they wait to attend the Africa Climate Summit, and these are some of their thoughts.
Climate change is now real more than ever. We've seen what happened in Mozambique, and even here in Kenya, there are instances where we have seen the floods and how it affects the community. So Africa is not the continent that is the biggest emitters of greenhouse gases, but we are being hit the hardest.
It's very important for us to get prepared, for us to sit. It's a platform whereby we sit and we try to change the narrative. We are in COP 27. We are going to COP 28. Are we going to COP 1000 without solving problem? So I believe that this inaugural African Climate Summit is really timely. Before we go, we consult ourselves.
Dan, I don't know if you've had a chance to pass by Charter Hall, where the accreditation for both summits, the Africa Climate Summit and the Africa Climate Week, is happening. That place is chaotic, and a lot of people are complaining that they're receiving the emails that their badges are ready, but then when they get there, they're told receiving that email does not guarantee you that you'll get a badge. And also some talks that some of the people who are missing those badges include some key speakers who will be seen tomorrow. But like you said, we will be on the ground right from 8 a.m. all the way until the summit ends on Wednesday, and then we'll give you the inside information of what the Nairobi Declaration says.
Very much. And Zainab, just to get it clear for our viewers, we do have a special broadcast tomorrow. Just give us quick details on what we should expect in regards to what we should have on air right from morning.
Yes, we do have a special broadcast tomorrow beginning from 6 a.m. We'll have some discussions on the summit at 6 a.m. with Olive Barrows. And then Your World will also have the discussions on climate change. So the special Africa Climate Summit coverage begins at 6 a.m. and will proceed all the way until around 4 or 5 p.m. with various things. Of course, there'll be some of the plenary discussions that will be taking live just to hear what the leaders are saying and what the agenda, how they're setting the scene. And then we'll have some panel discussions to discuss in depth what to expect. And of course, we'll also be hearing from Kenyans themselves. Do they know really what climate change is, what the impact they're feeling in their own lives, and what they want the African Climate Summit to discuss?
Thank you very much, Zainab Bondati, our sustainability editor here at the Nation Media Group, who's going to be leading the team that is going to be covering this event and events, I should say, across the week. And speaking of what she's just said about the people of Kenya and understanding whether they know about climate change, members of the Sengwer community who